Hello there. Welcome to another talk. And this talk is called Spiritual Awakening, Presence and Oversoul. And the Shaun Taylor Show, as I've said before, if you're new to my website, talks, I do all different talks, but the Shaun Taylor Show was an idea I had just so I could pretty much do anything I wanted. Because I'm quite a creative person. And so that's my opportunity to just do whatever comes into my awareness, Like these Shaun Taylor Show things can start, sometimes I can play a song, I can go into a meditation, do a talk, just flow. Right, instead of being on one subject, and I do that as well. And the reason I thought about it is because, like I say, the creative side and the spiritual awakening, presence, that experience that happened just under 10 years ago. I was quite creative anyway. But the spiritual awakening, I think it made me better. I believe that. Because the spiritual awakening is you're accessing higher dimensions of different spheres of the same consciousness. So therefore you're able to incorporate that into everything you're doing. And now what I'm able to do is I now, my music. I wasn't playing music for a few years. That's because of the awakening. And now everything that I'm passionate about is now oneness with this awakening. Because the awakening, of course, is my main thing, and that's the most important. But I've managed to incorporate everything else in my reality with that. So it's just a great experience. But, this talk is called Spiritual Awakening, Presence and Oversoul, and they're all interconnected and interrelated. What is Oversoul, you may ask? Oversoul is the item that when you have a spiritual awakening, you're receiving all this knowledge, and it's coming from Oversoul. Oversoul is the middleman between you and Source, right? You can call it heaven if you're religious, God, but that's what the Oversoul is, the middleman between your experience on Earth and the Source. And so what's happening is the Oversoul is receiving the knowledge and handing it into you. And I had an awakening because I sat down one day, and I remember I was 24 years old. I'm 33 now, 34 on my birthday. And I sat down one day and I had enough. Then I started to go through a series of paranormal experiences, an awakening. I didn't know it was called an awakening. My mum was a clairvoyant and medium and transfiguration medium, and done astrology and all different things, palmistry. She was on TV for palmistry. But she didn't know what I was going through. She'd never heard of it before. I didn't know what it was until I started to look on YouTube, but I'm the only one in the family that has had this experience. And the whole point, I know why that's happened. It's because I was the one that was close enough and ready. Now, why was I close enough? Well, I think I've always been very open. I've always been different. I didn't get along very well in school. When I was younger, I didn't really click with my family or parents or anyone. And I think a spiritual awakening happens to those that are holy. Holy means separate. And, like Jim Carrey says, the isolated family member is the one who is awake. And that was kind of me. And also sensitivity as well. And obviously, if you have an awakening, you're going to be quite empathic as well. I can feel we can all do it. We can all do this, but many people don't do it until they're forced to. We can all feel people's emotions or what their energy is. And I guess when you're on your own for large periods, when you're the isolated one, you're going to do that a lot more. Because when you're in solitude or by yourself, you're actually forced to go within yourself. You're forced to be present. This is why many people don't like lockdown or being on their own. I don't actually mind it. I've spoken out against it because of other people. But back to my awakening. That's the thing. And this awakening, these spiritual awakenings, Derek Akora, when he was alive, he's still alive in the infinite world, but he died at the early part of last year, and he died of pneumonia. They would probably say COVID-19 if he was alive today. If he died today. Sorry, I was just... I've got lights in my room all over the place. If you're new to me, my stuff, and sometimes on these talks you'll see pictures of lights and candles. That's my bedroom. But back to what I was talking about. See, the thing about awakening, presence, what starts to leave you is the old you. The old you, like I've heard Eckhart Tolle say that in Buddhism they say you want to get to a state where there's no thoughts, no self. And ultimately this state is just pure awareness. That's what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is the state of being aware, and you're just the awareness that is, and that's all that is. That's what, when you're spiritually awakening, that's ultimately what you're becoming now. It's like some people liken it to like a soul switch, but it's not a soul switch either. You've just become the all that is. When you were yourself, the self experience, the ego self, that was only for a certain amount of time. Then when you have the awakening, you become everything. You see? You become all, and the thoughts and the self, the identification with all that is just an illusion. And and there's mediums that say that when people die, they start forgetting things. That's because they're becoming the pure consciousness. Pure consciousness doesn't have thoughts, so this is why some people, when they're older, I'm not saying this is the case, I'm not a doctor, but that might be why they start forgetting things. I do a lot of meditation, and I notice this with myself because I do so much meditation. I forget things a lot. I've even saw Dolores Cannon doing that. You notice that with a lot of spiritual, I don't know if the right word would be ascended, or they do a lot of meditation. They become forgetful, and like I said a moment ago about people that die, or people that are old even, this happens, and it happens when people die as well, mediums say. But I was saying earlier about Derek Akora, yeah, he said when he was alive, not long ago, that he met men under 50 who were going through spiritual awakenings. Said it was all men under 50. And spiritual awakening is ultimately the new earth. This is what Dolores Cannon spoke about. And that's ultimately what's happening on the planet. I've said this so many times. And the people that have had the spiritual awakenings are there as the spiritual teachers. You know, and you've not got to bow to them. They're not the saviors. They're just the examples of what to be. This is why all this COVID nonsense and everything's going on, is because the Great Reset is really the Great Awakening. It's about the Great Awakening. And, you know, they don't want it. Because the money men at the top, you know, I want to say this in a way so I don't get banned off YouTube, you know, these people don't like anything spiritual or anything awake or anything like that, because that would unite us all as one. But that is what is happening anyway, because the source, which is called God, has a certain will, and that will gets played out. That's why I had a spiritual awakening. Everything comes from source, you see, as I've said before. And you connect that source with that source as soon as you start practicing presence. When you start working with your heart. When you're in your heart center, you are present. When you're present, you're in your heart center. And ultimately, it's not that, it is that people at the top want to control you. That is one part of it. But also, these people at the top are, like John Lennon said, we are ruled by insane maniacs. They're maniacs because of the surroundings. You see? See, when people identify an illness, what they do is they take a piece of genetic fluid. This has always been the case. Now, I'm not going off topic. I'm saying this because a piece of genetic fluid is a piece of genetic fluid. That's not establishing the real cause of illness. Like Dr. Sebi said, there's only one disease, and that is dis-ease. So, and ultimately what's happening on the planet is the planet is getting cleansed because of people, all different countries having awakenings since 2012, and that's why you're seeing madness and craziness. It's the transition from the old earth into the new earth, which is basically, the new earth is just heaven on earth. It's our own ascension process. And people running around in circles not knowing what's going on. Well, that's what's going on, you know. That's ultimately what's going on. That's why at the start of this COVID-19 rubbish, I was saying to not panic buy and not go, and I never done it, because I knew what was going on. Right? A transition is never easy. You got to remember that, and this is ultimately what's going on. And in this mass spiritual awakening, we're realizing, like in my spiritual awakening, that everything was within me. Now, once we all do this, we all cure it. But on this process, there's people on different levels. So people will go get a bit lost, and it'll get to a point where they start saying, "What is the answer?" And as you're going, and it will be the bad stuff that's going on that will force people to do that. What is the cause of the problems? Well, and that forces you to go within. And Eckhart Tolle says it could be a scenario where only some awaken and some do. Because remember, slavery is a choice. Spiritual awakening is a choice. So we can go any direction we want. It's our choice to do so. But awakening offers richness, abundance. Being rich is a state of abundance, which is you're in this state where it's like magic. It's just amazing. You realise that richness has nothing to do with money. It starts with your state of consciousness, and you attract all different things. And then as you become more present, you become more happy. The more you are present, the more you attract. That's how reality works. That's how reality works. It's all within this present moment. And that is, I think, a good cue for a short little meditation to end it. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, just be in this present moment. Meditate upon that. And you'll notice your sensory awareness within your body starts getting more stronger. Breathing starts going deeper. You start going to a state of absolute harmony. Just because you're here. And this is how you manifest your own awakening. So just be in this present moment. Know that this room or wherever you are is actually you. It's all just presence, nowness. There is no self, there is no separation. There's only this present moment, which came from nothing. So think of nothing. Think of nothing. Think of absolutely nothing right now. Think of nothing. Think of nothing. Think of nothing. Think of absolutely nothing. When something comes into your head, tell yourself to think of nothing again. Think of nothing. Think of nothing. Think of nothing. Think of absolutely nothing. 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 Notice your breathing go deeper as you're thinking of nothing. Think of nothing. When something comes into your head, tell yourself to think of nothing again. Think of nothing. Think of nothing. Think of nothing. Think of nothing. Think of absolutely nothing. There is no time. There's merely just a dream from the nothing, which is just awareness. Think of nothing. Think of nothing. Think of absolutely nothing. Think of 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 nothing. Now pay attention to how you feel at this very moment. There may be no thoughts. You're more still because of this meditation. Breathing may be deeper. And I'm just going to leave that there. For latest updates and talks and news and research, please do visit my website at www.lovelightfamily.com. Thank you.